Friday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
You've waited all week, and now it's finally here. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and beyond.
And now, your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
Evening, everybody. March 5th, 2021. I am back. It is Friday night, which means the Don Tony Show is here. Much love to everybody. Shout out to everybody who is live. Shout out to Mighty, who just became a member of the family. Bravo. How's everybody doing tonight? Pretty good edition of SmackDown. Honestly, I can't complain about any of it, other than it seems like WWE is getting into a little bit of a rut with Bayley. Does it feel ding-dong? Feels like something's missing over there. Hey, not everybody could get pushed all the time. You know, she's one of their top talents. I got news for you. You see the way Raw is, and Rhea Ripley's about it to be added to the mix. And you know, Raw is Ripley. Raw is Charlotte. Raw is Asuka. And that's pretty much it. I tell you the truth, I could see Bayley on Monday, ding-dong, trying to interview Asuka. Ding-dong, trying to interview Rhea. Maybe Bayley needs to go to Raw. We'll see. But by the way, Wednesday we did the NXT recap, AEW recap. I made a claim. Well, a guess. It was a guess. Analysis on the show that no one else in podcaster land picked up on. Next week, William Regal making a major announcement, changed the landscape of NXT. Chat room, I don't have it set up to have it on the screen today other than Super Chats. My apologies. But chat room knows, for everybody on the recap, what do we say Wednesday we think is going to happen? The creation. Yes, Prince and everybody else tuning in. The creation of NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. Now news is starting to float around that is indeed what it's going to be. I like it. You look at some of the teams on NXT. What are they going for? Why would you want to be a tag team wrestler if there's no championships? Right? Logic? Do I think that there are too many titles? Absolutely. But let's be honest. If there's any titles that a promotion should have, is a heavyweight title, a tag team title, and a secondary title. I know in NXT you have the North American Championship, but really, you know, you have the heavyweight title in the form of men and women. You have the NXT North American Championship. You have the male tag team championship. You do a female tag team championship. Now, it's not official, obviously, but it seems to be leading in that direction, which is pretty cool. Now, tonight, I'm going to get into SmackDown. I'm going to get into the AEW Revolution predictions. A lot of you are trying to figure out who is the surprise on Sunday. We had a little bit of a talk yesterday. I know not all of you tune into Q&A shows, but the one thing I did say about Sunday is that when we were joking around with it on Wednesday, I said, you know, you think of Paul White, comedic, focusing on announcing, their new show, Elevation. And I can picture a goofy segment where Paul White announces on Sunday that the mystery person who is Hall of Fame worthy that is going to sign a long-term deal with AEW is, drumroll please, Paul White. I can picture him doing something like that. Here's the little problem with that. Tony Khan went on a podcast. I don't know, maybe the AEW podcast in the last 24 hours or so. Tony Khan pretty much put himself in a situation where now he must deliver and deliver big. Tony Khan on that podcast, if you want to go check it out, said that somebody is going to be signing a long-term deal. And he pretty much said that it's not going to be Paul White. It's somebody else. And he got into a Mount Rushmore of his favorites over the years. So now here's the deal. A lot of people are focusing on Ryback. They're focusing on Batista. They're focusing on CM Punk. And then you got some Hall of Famers like Bret Hart, Mick Foley, and others. But Danielson, I don't know if you're going in the direction as I am, but it kind of hit me. After realizing that Tony Khan pretty much upped the ante now. Here's the deal. Plain and simple. Tony Khan, if they don't deliver somebody big on Sunday, he has now had his second Jacksonville Dixie moment. You do not want to accumulate a bunch of Jacksonville Dixie moments. Don't cry wolf with your wrestling fans. Don't cry wolf about that major announcement. Remember that time in Florida, the major announcement, and it had something to do with a Florida event, and people were pissed off. And Tony Khan, look, I praise him for doing this, but you see what happens when you got all these people are more concerned about getting likes and retweets and appreciation and playing footsie. Tony Khan goes on social media at that time and he says, hey, AEW, our fans are better than that. You need to give them a bigger announcement. Everything that is posted on social media with announcements goes through Tony Khan's desk. He tried to play good cop, bad cop, and guess what? Everybody let him get away with it. We didn't. And that's probably why, we get no olive branches. We don't give a shit about olive branches. We like olive oil. We don't need olive branches. Everybody knows the Donzilla Army, the family, everybody that's tuning in right now. Chaos, Mr. Mike, SoFly, One Fall, Daniel, Prince Alberts, Austin James, the list goes on and on, all throughout the world. I've been doing it since 1997. Honestly, I truly believe this. This is not kissing ass. This is not pandering. I truly believe that my family, because I don't call you fans. I think I'm not big enough to have fans, but the family, everybody that tunes in and supports what I do, I think we have the most loyal fan base of any podcaster out there. Yes, there are other podcasters on YouTube that have been on YouTube for 10 years, 15 years, fine. I'm only on YouTube for 1 year. I got a lot of catching up to do, obviously. But as far as doing this, longevity, I'm doing this since 97, and there are people, and last night you saw witness to it, people that still tune into my stuff 24 years later. So I truly appreciate each and every one of you out there. And we are going to have a fun show tonight. And Chaos, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words, man. I always see what you write, man. He said he appreciates the hustle. Yes, I will definitely have a Starbucks. No sweetener, obviously. I will have a coffee on you tomorrow. No BS. My significant other is not here tonight. She finished work at 7:30. And I was like, by the time I pick you up, SmackDown's already started. I got to cover SmackDown tonight. Why don't you just stay home and sleep? I'll pick you up early and we'll go out for breakfast. So that's what we're doing. So I will definitely have a coffee. Much love, Chaos. And thank you for all of the hard work. A lot of you out there, seriously, no bullshit. A lot of you out there, if you want to see something really cool, Just go on social media. Guardian, type your Twitter handle on in the don't super chat it. I'll read it out, for anybody that's not on the chat. But go check him out. He's got a legendary wrestling career himself. And if you see some of the Hall of Famers that he has wrestled, you will be beyond impressed. Trust me when I tell you. He's on the level of royalty. I'm not kidding. So, Chaos, Andre, vamos. You got to do it fast. I'm kidding. No, but he is almost royalty here in the Northeast. I don't know who would be considered royalty. I don't know. I try not to elevate everybody a little bit too much because it goes to their head. Yeah. Oh, Lee, what's going on? Lee is still my second moderator, second in command. Last night we had a couple of jerk-offs that wanted to stir it up. Okay, Big Daddy GOC. G is in goof, O is in ovarian, and C is in cat. There you go. Goof, ovarian, cat. By the way, Apollo. Yeah, this is a little tough. I love where they went with Apollo tonight. We talked about it last week. Go balls out with that. If you're going to celebrate and take pride in your Nigerian heritage, go balls out. I didn't think we were going to get progressive grip. I just botched that. Professor Griff. I have progressive on the brain. I was doing car insurance quote for somebody tonight. No bullshit. I almost said progressive Griff. We had two Professor Griffs in the ring tonight. For those that don't know who those two military men were in the ring tonight, I think we figured it out. Do they look anything like this? I think it is the Ely brothers. Uriel and Gabrielle, the Ely brothers. Even though I know one of them, some people said, it looks like Haku's son. They never saw Haku's son, obviously. I think it is the Ely brothers. I like what they did with Apollo. Yeah, JL. Oh, JL, shout out to you, my brother. I was a big fan of NWA and Public Enemy and Run DMC and Houdini and Mobb Deep and Jesus, so many of them back in the day. But, it was a little awkward at times, and I've talked about this in the past, being a fan of Public Enemy. And then me and my friends would hang out in Juniper Park. We'd be blasting Public Enemy music. I had pinstriped on the back of my Buick Lincoln, "Don't believe the hype." I swear to God, swear on my family. I'm trying to find a picture of it. I got it saved somewhere. Pinstripe, "Don't believe the hype." But it was kind of goofy for Italian Guidos to be on Juniper Park reciting the lyrics and not thinking about it. And then you start, yelling out, "Black militant! South Africa." And then you realize, okay, maybe we're not the appropriate people to be reciting those lyrics. But here's the thing with Apollo tonight. If I impersonate Apollo, are people going to take that as racist? I don't know. But he's doing the reverse Kofi Kingston, which we talked about last week. Remember last week I said he's going to do the reverse Kofi Kingston? It's the reverse. Kofi started with the Jamaican me crazy accent, and then suddenly the accent went away. Now Apollo Crews, you see, the only little problem with that character tweak is almost everybody knows that Apollo came from Sacramento, California. His ancestors, what he is saying is true. He does have royalty in his family. No joke. That is legit. But him doing this accent now, if I start talking like that, people may not, like that all that much. So I don't know. I'm a little bit torn. One side of me wants to say at times, he sounded more like the Count from Sesame Street, because towards the end, and I actually wrote it down. Where is it? I wrote it down. He said, He said, I am ashamed. And I immediately thought he sounded a little bit like Ricky Ricardo at times. I'm not making fun of the accent, but there was another point when he's like, I'm very, very happy. Oh, Big E's coming back next week. I'm very, very happy. I expected him next to say, and next week I count to 1, 2, 3. He sounded like the Nigerian Count from Sesame Street at times. I don't know if that's necessary, but I like it. I like it. I like what they're doing with Apollo. I like the over-the-top celebrating heritage. Look, I've said this many times before. I am Italian, and I'm very proud to be an Italian. Do I think Italians are better than other nationalities out there? No. I mean, it's the individuals that show who they are. It's not based on heritage or skin color or religion or anything else. It's the individuals. But, this, it's interesting that they're going this way. The only thing is that, it almost sounds like Lana towards the end of her accent. Lana would go in and out of character. She would sound like a little bit of the lavish Russian or whatever she was, the ravishing Russian. And then the next one, you think it's, blonde chick from California. That's how it came across. So shout out to Roger Rubio. Roger Rubio. Breakfast is on him tomorrow. My God, this keeps up. I'm having steak and eggs tomorrow. Holy shit. And I will take pictures. Thank you. Much love, my friend. Much love. I hope you're having a great day. I hope everybody is having a good week. The weekend is coming up. Here in New York, I think Tuesday, we're supposed to get to 65 degrees. Thank God. You don't know, man. I'm so frustrated. I wanted to go to WrestleMania so freaking bad. I've talked to personal friends. I've talked to people online. Come on, man. Let's go. We'll be careful. Let's go. Still, and I totally respect it. I totally respect it. I can't start being selfish because I'm fully vaccinated that I want to start, doing everything normal when other people still are very, very concerned that it's still exposed. So, and remember, it's not just, Sam, did you say Weta purposely to misspell it? Almost like Apollo tonight, the Weta. I'm ashamed at what people say. Do you live in a jungle? Do you ride lions? Who would say that to Apollo? If anybody would have said that to Apollo, that would have been a tweet, and then it would have been done so everybody in the world can retweet it and rip whoever the tweeter is that said that because, in 2021, we should not make comments like that and this and that. It's all about character development. It's all about character development, and that's why I like what they're doing with Apollo. No problem with it whatsoever. But Reginald, didn't we talk about it last week that it seems like WWE has an infatuation with women slapping around and humiliating Reginald? When we talked about that tonight, he gets dissed by Bianca, slapped by Sasha, turned down by the way, when Sasha Banks is in her locker room, she walks around in her locker room with the title wrapped around her waist. I mean, I'm just kicking back and I have this big heavy title on. Maybe she does it for exercise. They have those ankle weights. You walk around with the ankle weights and it tightens you up. Maybe the title helps her strengthen her abs. But yes, I agree with you, Phil. Poor Reggie. But Nia Jax thinks he's cute. By the way, we talked about it yesterday. Please do not misconstrue why I say what I'm about to say. For those that didn't tune in yesterday, we found out yesterday that this is going to happen at Fastlane. That's going to happen at Fastlane. Why? I sound like Nancy Kerrigan. Why? Didn't we just have Elimination Chamber? And didn't we say, you don't need the fucking tag titles on them. You don't need them to lose and start blaming each other. You got the cocky boss versus the cocky and confident boss versus the cocky and confident EST. Boss, EST. Elite. You don't need this secondary storyline. You don't need them to team up, win the tag titles, lose it a week before Mania, start blaming each other, beating each other up, and that's supposed to make more friction. By the way, we're only about a month away. So even if they did win the titles next Sunday, that leaves a week. So really, what's going to happen? Is Reginald going to get involved again? We need a second pay-per-view in a row where Reginald cost the decision. Now, some of you out there, we forgot. Carmella threw champagne in his face today. We're done. We're finished. Shayna Baszler almost beat up Reggie. I don't know if I want to see a storyline where Reggie and Nia, have a little bit. No. I personally think, you want to know what I think? Seriously? I'm probably wrong on this. I have a feeling they're going to write off Reginald as a character. Maybe he goes to Raw, maybe he goes to NXT, maybe they just let him go. I have a feeling they're going to write him off as a character because they've already set it up in the ring that the guy doesn't know how to wrestle for shit, even though he can do a little bit. He's gotten dissed by 5 different women. So where does he go from here? Something tells me his character might be going away. Just like they changed with Aaliyah. By the way, some redheaded guy with an accent showed up on SmackDown today to confront Seth Rollins. He looked awfully familiar. I couldn't put my finger on it. Murphy is back on TV. Murphy. And after all of this, hey, Seth, maybe I can help you. Don't go there again, please. I mean, it's nice to see Murphy on TV, but stop, man. That shit sucked from the beginning. Nice to see Murphy back, but should be able to be more creative than that. I like that line. Reginald will get jaxed off. Nuts, man. Yeah, look. Reginald has a crush on Sasha. It's not an infatuation. It's not an obsession. It's not a stalking. It's a crush. And that's really what it is. He's like a puppy dog. It doesn't matter how many times the master kicks the dog. When the master comes home, and I'm sorry for being a little bit, morbid about that, over the top, but that's what it is. How many of you out there have heard stories where a pet is abused, and no matter how much you abuse that pet, you come home and the pet's still wagging the tail? That's what Reginald has turned into. Where do you go with that? Where do you go with that? He gets angry and pulls an Otis? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm looking greenish tonight. I'm looking a little greenish tonight. Yeah, I could fix that. Let's see. Is that a little better? I was tweaking some colors earlier. I was adjusting my white balance, so maybe it was a little greenish. Yeah, I think I might have fixed that a little bit. So anyway, what do you want to get into first? Revolution predictions, AEW and NXT ratings, or SmackDown? It's the Hulk. It's the Hulk. Modern days. Is the color a little better though? But chat room, vote. What do you want me to get into? Should we just finish up? Want to get ratings. You know what? I'm sorry for overriding some of you out there. Let's just wrap up SmackDown. Let's get it out of the way. I'm not trying to diss it in any way. It was a fun show. But keep in mind that one half of the show, I don't know if you realize this, one half of the show had to do with Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Jey Uso. The first match tonight, the first in-ring match, did not start until 8:29 p.m. I checked. The first 30 minutes were promos. And the last half hour was pretty much the cage match. So when you realize that the cage match and the promos were half of the show, you crammed a lot in that other hour. And I tell you, that's probably why the show seemed to flow really, really nicely today. And some of it was rushed. I mean, some of the matches were awfully rushed, which we will get into. They open up SmackDown, recapping Edge winning the Royal Rumble. Michael Cole is in the ring. He brings out Daniel Bryan, the piped-in yes chants, which is fine. It's cool. Michael Cole points out that originally the main event at Fastlane was supposed to be Daniel Bryan and Edge teaming up against Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. He wonders why, and honestly, man, I understand a lot of the questions or the comments that these wrestlers and announcers say are told to them by creative. But Michael Cole tonight with one of the dumbest questions in the history of pro wrestling. If I had a sugar bottle right now, I would break it over my head. I'm not going to use a real bottle and have to go to the hospital. He actually asks Daniel Bryan, why would you rather have a title shot than being in a tag team match? Excuse me? He actually asked that question. Now, if we were still in the Attitude Era, I probably would have turned around Daniel Bryan and said to him, "Say, what do you, I think you could fill in the blank. You know, a jackass. Want to see jackass? We could say jackass." So Daniel Bryan talks about how he knows the dream match is Edge versus Roman Reigns. Then here's another one. Thunderdome versus Attitude Era? Thunderdome versus Attitude Era. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? We got LED screens versus non-LED screens? I don't know, man. I thought that was kind of goofy, man. But Daniel Bryan, I'm just adjusting the color a little more. I think that's a little better. Daniel Bryan talking about he regrets putting himself on the back burner. He talks about how, you know, he needs this WrestleMania match. It might be his last opportunity. And he says that he's wrestled more in the last 3 weeks than Roman Reigns and Edge have wrestled in the last 3 months. I don't know if that's statistically correct, because if you think about it, Edge has already had 2 matches. Roman Reigns had 2 at the pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan had 3. Or you know, wait a minute. Whoa. When you think about that, come on. Are we doing semantics here? Oh, so Daniel Bryan had 4 and they had 3. Get out of here. Seriously. I don't know. The more I start breaking this down, it's kind of like stupid. But I will say this. Daniel Bryan tonight, Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso made Fastlane believable. That everything leading into Fastlane was so well executed tonight. They made that cage match feel important. We didn't have any clusterfuck finish. Daniel Bryan won. He won the match. Yes, lock, Jey Uso. We don't have, you know, Edge causing the loss. You don't have Roman Reigns. He's watching everything. But they really, I mean, even that segment where Jey Uso was going to be interviewed in the back during SmackDown and Daniel Bryan knocks his ass out. They really did an awesome job making that cage match feel important tonight and making the Fastlane match acceptable. Now, does anybody out there think in their wildest dreams that Roman Reigns is losing at Fastlane? That's the only problem, if there's any. That's the only problem Roman Reigns has had in this title run so far. And even the biggest Roman Reigns fans tuning into this right now, I think will agree with me. If you look at his reign, we've talked about this before. Really, his 3 opponents have been Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, and Daniel Bryan. That's pretty much it. And when he feuded with Jey Uso, there was no chance whatsoever of Jey Uso winning that title. But we didn't care because the storyline and the work that they did was excellent. I don't think anybody out there really thought that Kevin Owens was ever a threat of taking the title off of Roman Reigns, but they worked so well together and they clicked and gelled so wonderfully. You didn't care. You got that again with Daniel Bryan. So you have a world title run where you don't feel any chance of him losing. And I'll be honest with you, how I feel right now, I don't see Edge beating Roman Reigns for that championship. I really don't. I think Roman Reigns keeps that title throughout the summer, especially with live fans coming back. It will be interesting to see how live fans react to some of what they see on TV, because obviously with COVID, WWE is pushing a certain narrative with the piped in sound clips and Thunderdome, them on the mic telling everybody in Thunderdome, all right, everybody, all right, now, yes. Now, Daniel Bryan is one of the most beloved wrestlers, so him, we know he would get that reaction anyway. But as far as forcing, heel turns or I don't know how the crowd would act with Otis. I think the crowd would still pop for Otis, believe it or not. I think some of what you see might be tested with live fans in attendance. King Aladdin thinks that he sees Edge beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Look, if you out there are undecided as far as who's going to win, or you think Edge has a legitimate shot, then WWE must be doing something right. Because the best feuds, the best storylines, and some of the matches, the best ones, are the ones when you can't predict the winner. You look at all of those matches from yesteryear, almost all of them, and almost every time you go back at it and you say, I really couldn't pick a winner on that one. I watched it again the other day, Steve Austin, Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13. Now, you look back at Steve Austin's career, you could say, there was no chance that Austin was going to lose. Yeah, he lost, but he won. You look at, the match that, has gotten a life of its own throughout the decades, Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat. At that time, nobody really was sure who was going to come out on top. And you could go down the list. So, we'll see what happens. But Daniel Bryan cuts an awesome promo, very believable, to open up SmackDown. Roman Reigns comes out. And Roman Reigns, he's getting the cadence down perfectly. You don't love this business. I love this business. You don't need this business, or I don't need this business, but everybody needs me. And he's just doing his thing like he always does. And he says even Daniel Bryan needs him. And, before Daniel Bryan could speak, Jey Uso gets on the mic, gets into his face, and Jey Uso tried to jump Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan fought back. And now we set up, obviously, the cage match later on in the night. Very well done by everybody involved. It went a very long time. Again, like I said, the first match tonight was 8:29 p.m. 1/4 of SmackDown is already done. Now we get the Street Profits in the ring, and they cut their promo. Sami Zayn and King Corbin come out. We're supposed to have a tag team match. Street Profits versus King Corbin and Sami Zayn. King Corbin didn't agree to this. And Sami Zayn, it's like, come on, let's team up. I don't want to team up with you. King Corbin wants to just have a one-on-one match, and he'll take on either member of the Street Profits. So we find out that King Corbin will take on Montez Ford, and Sami Zayn will take on Angelo Dawkins. King Corbin actually gets the win, believe it or not. And what ends up happening, King Corbin took on Montez Ford and beat him. And we had some distractions tonight. Montez Ford climbed the rope and hit his standing moonsault for a 2 count. He tried to climb the top rope, I guess maybe to do the frog splash again, his splash, but Sami Zayn distracted him. And then King Corbin hit the end of days and got the win. So technically, Sami Zayn helped King Corbin win. Now, personally, I think this whole stuff right now with King Corbin and Sami Zayn is just for that documentary thing they're filming. Even, I don't know if I like that results in matches are being done specifically for this documentary. You know, hey, I'm not going to knock it. It might be entertaining once we get it. But after the match is over, Sami Zayn's trying to point out to King Corbin that he helped him. And he doesn't want any help. Angelo Dawkins knocks Sami Zayn into King Corbin. He gets pissed off, and he starts to walk to the back. Angelo Dawkins takes on Sami Zayn and beats Sami Zayn. King Aladdin, I'll get into your question in a second. And Sami Zayn tries to set up for the huluva kick, but Montez Ford started yelling at Sami Zayn's crew, the documentary guys. Sami Zayn hears that, gets distracted, and Angelo Dawkins rolls him up. Awful lot of roll-up victories in the last couple of months. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's happened a lot on AEW as well. I mean, I remember recently, then we have the Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz, and that ended up with an inside cradle win. A lot of inside cradles and roll-ups, which technically are almost the same. So Sami Zayn pissed off at the documentary crew, blaming them for the loss. So they must be coming to a close with this documentary thing. The Falling Cups thing, I don't have too much of a problem with it, rough man. It's just, their signature, their signature prop, I guess you could call it. I don't know if they sell the Solo Cups through WWE, but man, if they could imprint it on the disposable cups, I think they could. Because I remember used to go into it would be like stationery stores. I'm sure you all remember that. When you go to school and you go to the stationery store to buy the notebooks and buy the pens, then it turned into like Walmarts and things like that. When I was a kid, you had stationery stores that were just for that. It would be all not lots of office supplies, but they called it a stationery store. I remember going in there and they would have the WrestleMania or WWF tablecloth. You could get birthday cake dishes and napkins and candles, and I know they still sell it, if anybody's going to say. But I'm surprised they don't market the Solo Cups more. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Yeah, it must be a pain in the ass to clean up all those cups, and they have to reuse them. You have to reuse them. So now, in the back, Reginald approaches Carmella with a bottle of champagne. She yells at him for helping Sasha the last few weeks, and she knocks the bottle out of his hands, and she says, "We're done." So Reginald, gets, what's that word that we used last week? Something with the masculinity. He gets berated by a woman. So that's one tonight. Dominic Mysterio beats Chad Gable, Otis outside the ring. Match was okay, very, very quick. Again, like I said, you take away 1 hour tonight, half of the show, and you were left with everything else. So you see how fast Michael Gonzalez is asking, where's Murphy? Michael Gonzalez did not see SmackDown tonight. But you know what? I know a lot of you haven't so far. Michael, I will get to him in a second. So Dominic beats Chad Gable, and after the match, Ray slides and hits the kick to Otis, making him fall backwards into the announcer's table. So I don't know if they're leaning to Ray and Dominic versus Gable and Otis at Fastlane. Kind of feels that way. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen Otis and Chad Gable just manhandle some team tonight. I don't know what's the insistence. Maybe it's just lack of people they could put him up against. But we got that tonight. All right, fine. Not a big deal. Kayla Braxton interviews Seth Rollins in the back. Seth Rollins, they repeated last week when Cesaro put him in the swing for an extended period of time, which I think it was the longest one he ever did. Rollins is pissed off what happened last week, and Murphy shows up. And Murphy offers to help Seth Rollins with his problem with Cesaro. And Seth Rollins says, "Get the hell out of my face." then Murphy leaves. But we realized later on we got a match with Murphy and Cesaro. Okay. Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler. We recapped last week when Shayna Baszler kicked Asuka in the mouth and the tooth went flying, and that was legit. She accidentally connected really, really hard, and Asuka's tooth went a-flying. Tonight, though, and I understand why they did it. Some of you are going to disagree with this. Out of Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, and Bianca Belair, Bianca Belair has the most that still needs to prove on the main roster. Yes, we all know what she can do. Yes, she is one of the top stars in the WWE. But as far as being on the main roster, she's got to get a lot more momentum behind her back. That is why you got Bianca Belair beating Shayna Baszler tonight. And, I think you could kind of say pretty handedly. They used Reginald once again. He got involved. Reginald shows up. Sasha Banks is out there. Reginald gets shoved by Nia Jax. There's female number 2 being abused tonight. Yes, Carmella looked beautiful. I know people have really dogged on her, ragged on her over the years with plastic surgery and stuff like that. She's still attractive. You do what you want with your body. It's your body. Do what you want. Seriously. I mean, the funny thing about it is the people out there that knock people the most with stuff like that are too ashamed to show themselves. There is a jealousy. You all go through that on social media. There's an absolute jealousy. There was somebody today, I don't want to mention his name. He's live right now. He sent me this long DM earlier today, really appreciating the shows, and he's saying quickly Thursday night is becoming his favorite night of the week with the shows, which, is very flattering because that was the show that's the least preparation and seems like it's the one that people are just really, just getting attracted to. But he said to me, we were chatting on a chat room earlier, and he said, I wanted to write in the chat room, but, there's always jerk-offs that start ripping you apart. You give praise to someone, and if they don't like it, instead of just... and again, how all these people say to you, oh, we're all wrestling fans at the end of the day. Even if you like AEW and I don't, even if you like NXT and I don't, even though if you think Sting is great right now and I think he should retire, even if we're all wrestling fans, and at the end of the day, that's what matters, and we got to be better. We got to be better. And the minute you praise something in the chat room, you get embarrassed by people out there. So it still goes on. But as far as Carmella goes, she looks great. She's improved significantly in the ring. I'm just wondering, where do they go at this point? Who is she going to feud with? I'm looking at the SmackDown roster, and I'm kind of like, who? Like, really, seriously, who? So... and I don't know if adding more women to the main roster is the answer. They do have a decent number of women on that main roster, and they're trying to play into the storyline because we saw tonight Natty and Tamina, they're upset that they didn't get a tag title shot at Fastlane. Adam Pearce says that's the decision that they made, and Sonya Deville says if it was up to her, she would have made a different decision. Okay, fine. And I know people are commenting on it on social media. The problem is, that is a storyline that you're watching on TV. You see them trying to elevate Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and, realistically, we knew where that was going. But they tried to make people believe in it. It didn't work. The Riot Squad, they tried to push that, and that didn't work. They tried Natty and Tamina, and at the end of the day, they're pretty much in the same purgatory that they were in before. And you go on and on and on. Naomi and Lana, they get a little momentum on TV. They're promised a title shot and nothing. This is all storyline. This is WWE. When you say the brass ring, you have a ton of women on their roster. And yes, maybe some of them shouldn't be elevated that high. If that's the case, don't waste 2 months, 3 months of people's time trying to make us believe that someone is being elevated to the next level, and then after 2 or 3 months, they're like, no. Yeah. I said a couple of years ago, and I know some of you out there have gotten a headache with the amount of times I've said this, but I said years ago that WWE is pretty much Asuka and the Four Horsewomen. I know Becky Lynch is not there. God bless her, motherhood. But really, when you look back at it, you've had some people get a little bit of an elevation. I love how Shayna Baszler has adapted to the main roster. Out of everything the last year or so, I probably have enjoyed watching her adapt, because I remember that stupid reports early last year that, oh, Vince has already given up on Shayna Baszler, and that's it. They're doing the same thing to Keith Lee right now that they did to Shayna Baszler early last year. You watch where Keith Lee is six months from now, in my opinion. Ref man, why do they call it the brass ring? It's a figure of speech. You know, in all walks of life, you know, you work even in a McDonald's, you know, go for that brass ring. Become a manager, a supervisor. Own your own business. We were talking about my dad yesterday, and yes, Thursdays is very down-to-earth, personal. We talk about everything in life. You know, it's not just a wrestling show. But even my dad, a lot of you know it already. My father worked 3 jobs when I was a kid to keep a roof over our head and keep a car and, you know, just food and education. And my father ended up becoming the supervisor for Scotoro Supermarkets, and he still had a hard time reading. So the brass ring is in different forms, you know, so that's why people use that term. So, hey, Carmella's best ring. The gold ring, you know, it's just a figure of speech that's been around for years and years and years. So, backstage segment again. Reginald, he's walking out with his little luggage bag. He walks past the door that had Sasha Banks' name on it. It's her locker room. He knocks on the door. She opens it up, and she's still got the title around her waist. And she's like, no! She slams the door in his face. He walks off a little dejected, almost to the point of like Austin Theory towards Dexter Lumis, what he thought was from Wednesday. By the way, I got to see where that storyline goes, because in storyline, all Austin Theory would have to do is watch the replay of NXT, and he realizes that he got fooled by the way. So Reginald walks off dejected, and he runs into Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And Shayna Baszler's like, do you smell that? Do you smell that? Now, I thought she was going to say champagne. She's like, that's the smell of failure. So he gets, you know, berated even further. And Nia Jax, she thinks he's a little cute. Now, to be honest with you, if somebody ever said to me that I was cute, like, it's kind of like goofy to like just be standing there and wondering, and she just walks away. But that's what they do, because they got to go to commercial break. Apollo comes out with, which I believe the Ely brothers, and like I said, they're dressed, and I use Professor Griff because that's what I thought about immediately. Anybody that remembers Public Enemy, you know what I'm talking about. And Apollo, as I opened up with the show, you know, real deep accent, trying to stay in accent. That's not how he normally talks. You can hear him go in and out of it. You know, he says he's a real African American, and he brings up stereotypes that people supposedly ask because he's from Nigeria. He's ashamed, and he said that, you know, with all of the berating that Big E told him, you know, he said that his family told him to stand up. And it was, like I said, you know, it's a little bit Ricky Ricardo-ish, but he, instead of saying claim your rights, he says clem. So it sounded like stand up and Bubba clem your rights. Clem. Go claim your rights. Claim your rights. Claim your rights. He's very, very happy. Big E's going to be back next week. Maybe in time for a Fastlane match. 2 weeks in a row now. What the hell are they doing with Shinsuke all of a sudden? Just pointing it out because we were concerned of that. But I like, again, as I said earlier, I really like this character development for Apollo because there is a lot of truth in what he says about his family. And you know what? Good. Try it. I never thought Cedric Alexander would work out so well as a heel. Try it with Apollo. And so far, 1 week removed from last week, I'm liking what I see. So, no problem with that. Bayley segment, like I said earlier, she does a ding-dong segment, reading tweets. First two are positive about her segment. The third one, I guess, leads to insults, and she storms off. Filler. It seems like they've run into a wall with Bayley. But, hey, I think a lot of people forget how important Bayley and Sasha were last year during COVID, during 2020, because COVID's still here, obviously. But, maybe, she deserves a little bit of a break. So, no problem with it. Rothman is asking me if I have any tattoos. No, I don't. I wanted to get a tattoo as a tribute to my parents once. I never went through with it. So we get the main event. Daniel Bryan, Jey Uso in a cage. Excellent match. They set it up real nice during SmackDown tonight. The 30 minutes of build in the beginning. Daniel Bryan knocking Jey Uso on his ass during a segment in the back during the show. And in the end, Jey Uso loses. Now, during the night, we had another backstage segment where Jey Uso, was talking to Roman Reigns, and Jay's like, I got this. And Roman Reigns is telling him, don't embarrass the family. He embarrassed the family. Daniel Bryan wins with the S-Lock. They teased going out of the cage a couple of times, had some really nice bumps, had like a Samoan drop off, I think it was the top rope. But very fun main event. For SmackDown TV, Fox, very well done. They should generate a pretty nice rating tonight. So now we get Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at Fastlane, and the women's tag match, as we said earlier, for the tag titles. And we'll get more matches announced on Monday. Now, Monday with Raw, they're going to do a celebration for Bobby Lashley's title win, which will be fun. And, we'll see if anybody makes a return. We'll see if Drew McIntyre gets involved with that at all. And obviously, Miz should get involved in some capacity. It was fine. I enjoyed SmackDown tonight. Overall, that dumb question with Michael Cole at the beginning to Daniel Bryan was stupid. A little here and there, but honestly, great week for WWE. Even though they got their ass handed them in the ratings, which we kind of expected, overall, I think it was a really good week for WWE. And you know what else? I wasn't even going to bring it up, but if you want to see something interesting, and you won't see it reported anywhere until someone writes it and then everybody cuts and pastes it, go look at the WWE stock. The WWE stock in the last month or two has gone up almost 50%. They were at like $32 or $33 a share in late 2020. They're in the 50s now. None of these goofs are bringing it up. You realize when they released all those wrestlers and what the stock was at that time, under $40 a share, and now it's in the 50s, mid-50s, you realize how much more money WWE has made. And then they inked the deal with Peacock. They should be signing everybody that has serious value right now. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Raw, too. Looking forward to Raw. They had a good week, WWE. Let's give them credit. They had a good week. So now, let's get into the ratings. I'm going to save predictions for last because as far as AEW goes, I think this might be one of the more predictable cards that they've ever had. I'm not knocking it in any way. I am so looking forward to many matches scheduled for Revolution, but the outcomes in a lot of ways seem almost very predictable. So, Remember, Wednesday night I said that quarter one for AEW for Shaq's match, I think could break 1.1 million viewers. And by the way, for everybody on the download, just for the hell of it, because I like rubbing it in the haters' faces. By the magic of technology, when I go like this, you will get that clip where we were talking about ratings. And I said that I thought Shaq for that quarter would break 1.1 million. And I think that, and I was not that far off as far as the ratings. For the second week in a row, I was within 3,000 of NXT's rating, and I was only off, I think, by about 20 or 30,000 for AEW. The only thing about AEW, as you will see, is that the ratings just gradually went down for the most of the night. I think the main event, strangely enough, the main event is the only quarter that actually went up just a drop. So we'll get into that. Oh, and when we get into NXT, yeah, the predictable people, we still haven't seen much of a ratings change, and something I think people should be a little concerned about. So, AEW, let's get into the ratings. Hour number one, 997,000 viewers. Hour two, 870,000 viewers for a composite of 934,000. That is up from last week's 828,000. Opening quarter, Shaq and Jade Cargill versus Cody and Red Velvet did 1,133,000 viewers. Pretty exact of what I expected it to do. I think it might be the highest quarter they've ever done. I don't think this is that bad. Some people might be like, ouch. I still don't think it's bad. The very end of that match, the ambulance segment, and then Pac and Ray Phoenix versus D3 and John Skyler, that rating dropped 158,000 viewers to 975. So yes, it did take a big drop after Shaq's performance. But to still be at 975, impressive. Quarter three, Chris Jericho and MJF's press conference that featured Bischoff, Barstool Sports, and Turkey Tits. The Young Bucks getting involved. And then Jon Moxley's promo setting up Sunday. That quarter hour dropped 4,000 viewers to 971. Not too bad. FTR and Tully Blanchard versus Jurassic Express. That quarter hour dropped 60,000 viewers to 911. So even though it's dropping, they still maintained a nice chunk of their audience. So I don't think anything of concern. Quarter hour 5, Paul White coming out for a segment with Tony Schiavone. The recap of the Women's Eliminator Tournament and the first half of Ryo Mizunami versus Nyla Rose. That quarter hour dropped 4,000 viewers to 907. So still 900,000. Quarter number 6, the second half of Nyla Rose versus Ryo Mizunami. And then you add that segment with Team Taz, Darby Allin, and Sting. That quarter hour dropped 26,000 viewers to 881,000. Quarter hour number 7, 10 versus Max Caster, with the winner advancing to Revolution to be in that ladder match for the face of the Revolution. That quarter hour dropped 41,000 viewers to 840,000. The main event, Hangman Page and John Silver versus Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn. That rating increased a drop, went up 10,000 viewers to 850,000. So, and then you had obviously the Battle Royal skirmish that happened after. So, excellent night for AEW. Audience gradually decreased the entire night. The difference between the first and second quarter, I think, was expected by a lot of people because the curiosity factor with Shaq, once that was out of the way, then the non-wrestling fans pretty much turned it off. That's pretty much how you could look at it. They didn't jump over to NXT, if that's what you're thinking. So let's summarize. 934 is the average. 934 is the average. 1,133,000, 975, 971, 911, 907, 881, 840, 850. So other than that first quarter, down the whole night except for a slight increase in the main event. So still overall an excellent night for AEW. Now we go to NXT. NXT, as you look at these ratings, they maintained a lot of their audience for the first hour and 15 minutes. Unfortunately, and this is weird, man. This is freaking weird. And I'll explain why. I shouldn't say weird. It's concerning. Concerning is a better word. And let me explain why. Now, like I said, anybody could just read numbers, but let me explain why NXT has got to be concerned a little bit. When I go over these ratings for NXT, you're going to see for the first hour and 15 minutes, they maintain their audience pretty well. The last three quarters, their numbers just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. Now, when you look on AEW side, the last three quarters of AEW, now think about this. The last three quarters of AEW was the second half of Nyla Rose and Ryo Mizunami, Darby Allin, Sting, and Team Taz's segment, 10 versus Max Caster, and Hangman Page and John Silver versus Mark Quinn and Matt Hardy. Not really, like huge matches. And you look back on it, I think a lot of you would agree. Take AEW's hour 2, make it hour 1, and take AEW's hour 1 and make it hour 2. And that would have been interesting. So, no, SoFly, I politely disagree with you when you say this. SoFly says if you can't crack 1 million with Shaq, that might mean they don't have the ability to hold non-wrestling. Look, anybody that is a non-wrestling fan, I don't expect them to suddenly stick to the TV and watch it for the whole night. If you tease Shaq throughout the whole night, that would have been interesting to see if people hung around and hung around and hung around. But Shaq's quarter hour did 1,133,000 viewers. That is extremely impressive. So for non-wrestling fans out there, that curiosity factor, they tuned in. You're not going to win a non-wrestling fan over simply because they had a match that featured one of the greatest basketball players and entertainers of our lifetime. It's going to take a lot more than that. And you can't have celebrities on every week, obviously. So, I think they are very satisfied for what they got. And you know what? Good for Jade Cargill, good for Red Velvet. Cody obviously is already elite. But Jade and Red Velvet, they really shined overall and could have easily cracked under pressure because they know that a lot of eyes were going to be on that product. So, Dorian Moore. Oh, shit. Are you serious? Are you sure about that? I said earlier that it looked like that the two people in the ring were Uriel and Gabrielle Ely, the Ely brothers. He is saying that it was Denzel DeJournette and Matrick Belton. Really? Wait a minute. Denzel DeJournette doesn't go by that name anymore. Chat room, what does Denzel DeJournette go by now? You know it. I'm not disagreeing with you. That could very well be correct. Devin is also saying now it wasn't the twins. Okay, all right. I thought one of them looked an awful lot like Uriel Ely. It really looked like Uriel Ely. But okay, he's Ashante Adonis. No, he's Desmond Troy now. That's right. Ashante Adonis. Is people just throwing out names. Buddy Colt passed away? Ah, shit. You know what? Look, I'm not trying to sound like an ass. For older wrestling fans out there, let's be honest. When was the last time you ever mentioned Buddy Colt in a sentence? You know, my point is look, you know, it sucks that someone from our past as young wrestling fans died, you know, and is no longer with us. But Buddy Colt had a decent wrestling career and a great life, and he passed on. You know, I personally think that for people like that, you celebrate. You celebrate. You see these websites, and again, I'm not trying to be cold about this. Yeah, let me just say this also. Uriel Ely was released in 2018. I think they kept Gabrielle. So, Gabriel. Gabrielle is more feminine. Gabriel. But, hey, if it was Desmond Troy, Metrique Belton, okay. I thank you, Dorian, for finding that out. So at least by the time the show is over, you know, we know who it is. I got to start like splicing in like little pop-ups during the show where we write, you know, no, it's not the Ely twins. But, yeah, we talked about Jim Crockett Jr. on Wednesday and Thursday, believe it or not, Lee. Well, you were around yesterday. But you know, with Buddy Colt, just to say this quickly, you know, I would rather, if that was me, I would rather have someone like go back, watch a couple of matches, you know, reminisce, celebrate, you know, that, you know, in a small way, that person entertained me when I was a young wrestling fan. But these websites, we are saddened to hear the news, or they don't care. 9 times out of 10, they don't even know half the people that they're writing about. It's the same generic line, and I think it's so disingenuous is what makes it disrespectful. So, you know, if you don't know the person, then just say that, you know, we learned that the wrestling world has lost, you know, another member, Buddy Colt, who wrestled, blah, 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 passed away at the age of, you know, whatever he was. And he was most known, and these are condolences to the family and friends. And that's it. You're being respectful. You actually act like you did a little research to see what this guy did, even if you look at just a wiki page. But instead, we are saddened to learn the news that Buddy Colt has passed and blah, 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 blah. And you're not sad. You don't give a shit. You know, be a little respectful. If you truly want to be a little respectful, even if it's someone you never viewed, you know, do a little research and write a couple of sentences. Don't just cut and paste the shit that some other goof wrote on their website. But unfortunately, yes, Buddy Colt, Gordon Soley were gold. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's get back to the ratings. So as I mentioned, the 3 last quarters of AEW were really not extremely solid. And even with that, NXT lost a lot of viewers. And that is very concerning. Very concerning. Yeah, Mr. Mike, there's nothing wrong with the fact that you never heard of Buddy Colt before. Trust me, a lot. I would honestly say about 90% of younger wrestling fans of today never heard of Buddy Colt's name. I'm not saying that. There's nothing wrong with not knowing someone. You know, you're not required as a wrestling fan to learn who wrestled in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, just like baseball. You're a baseball fan, you want to cheer for your Dodgers, your Yankees, your Astros, your Mets. You know, you don't need to know that Ron Wood played third base in 1966. It's not a requirement to know history. But if somebody passes and you're going to talk about it, then if you know, just don't be disingenuous about it. If you don't give a shit, then, and you still want to show respect, then and this is, like I said, towards the podcasts and sites out there, and, you know, just look up a couple of things about them, mention them, make a mention, and that's it. You move on. So let's get into the NXT ratings. Hour 1, 722,000. Hour 2, 662,000 for a composite of 692. That is down from last week's 740,000. Remember I said that I was very concerned for that opening quarter, not just because Shaq was on the other side, but because they went with Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. That tag team taking on Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher opened up only with 713,000 viewers. Now, remember AEW went down like 160,000? If you thought that NXT fans were just glued watching Shaq, then after the match is over, turn to NXT, you're mistaken. Quarter 2, the end of that tag team match, the segment with Finn Balor, Roderick Strong in the ring, and in the first segment of The Way at the Therapist, that rating only increased 21,000 viewers to 734,000. Still very disappointing. Quarter hour 3, once again, and I know there's a few people out there that absolutely love the Cameron Grimes gimmick. Cameron Grimes, since his return, every quarter hour that he has been involved in doing his segments, the ratings have gone down. I'm just calling like I see it. His segment with William Regal announcing that match with Bronson Reed, Aaliyah versus Ember Moon, and then the backstage interview with Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, that quarter hour dropped 33,000 viewers to 701,000. The buildup of Toni Storm and Io Shirai's match next week, and the first half of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, that quarter hour increased 43,000 viewers to 44,000, Now, 744. The next quarter, which was quarter 5, which was the remainder of that match, and then the second segment of The Way at the Therapist, that rating increased 4,000 viewers to 747. So they maintained throughout the entire women's match, spanning across 2 quarters, they maintained their audience, which is good. LA Knight's interview and Cameron Grimes versus Bronson Reed. Now let me put this in perspective. The same quarter that went up against LA Knight and Cameron Grimes versus Bronson Reed, that same quarter on AEW side was not the second half of Nyla Rose versus Ryo Mizunami, Sting and Darby Allin and Team Taz. That quarter hour for AEW dropped 26,000 viewers. The reason why I bring that up is I don't want anybody to think that people turned away from NXT and put on AEW. Quarter number 6, LA Knight's interview and then Bronson Reed versus Cameron Grimes dropped 104,000 viewers to 643,000. Cameron Grimes, the segments are fun, but in the end, he's back in the ring, and it's pretty much the same Cameron Grimes as before. His quarter hours still keep dropping and dropping and dropping. Look, I like the repackaging. I like the comedy stuff. I like, some of the things he's doing. But unfortunately, overall for wrestling fans, they're not feeling it. So, and yeah, LA Knight, you got to be disappointed too. Eli Drake. Oh, Mr. Mike, we got to give Eli Drake more than just one promo. You got to give him a lot more time than that. I think he will find his way just fine. So, quarter number 7, Caden Carter, Xia Li, the build-up for next week. The final segment of The Way at the Therapist office, and Legado del Fantasma beating the crap out of Breezango and Everrise. That quarter hour increased 20,000 viewers to 663,000. Drum roll, please. The main event, Finn Balor versus Roderick Strong. That quarter hour dropped 67,000 viewers to 596,000. They are having a problem getting any strong rating with Finn Balor in a match now in NXT. I don't know what it is. When you look at it like this is probably the most important point. When you realize that at 9:30, here in the Northeast, NXT goes off the air at 10 p.m. When you realize at 9:30, your viewership from 9:30 to 9:59 p.m. went down almost 160,000 viewers, You couldn't maintain them to stick around that last half hour. And on AEW's side, they lost 30,000 viewers in that final half hour. You know, that says something. That says something. So, yeah, Finn Balor's match was not a ratings draw at all. And you remember I said that I thought that there was a chance that Finn Balor could possibly do a better rating than Hangman Page and John Silver? Not even close. Well, you know what? John Silver and Hangman Page and Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn did 850. No, it wasn't even close. Finn Balor and Roderick Strong did 596. They did 254,000 viewers more. Oh, boy. Not good. Not good. So those are your ratings for this week. By the way, if you don't mind, if you're enjoying the episode, I appreciate it. If you could hit that like button. You know, you hit that like button, you're telling YouTube that you enjoyed the show. It helps me out because more that happens, the more they are inclined to recommend the show to others. So I would appreciate it if you take a second, just smash that like button. Much love, much appreciated. So now we go to AEW Revolution. Where is my banner? Oh, here is my AEW Revolution banner. There we go. Let's do predictions. And by the way, I want to give a big shout out to the family. Mighty, yes. Right before I went live, I saw it pop up, so I added you, my brother. So big shout out to all our members, our supporters, the family. So thank you. Thank you as always. And don't forget, Sunday night, right after AEW Revolution, I will be here doing a recap. So we will have a lot of fun, and I'm telling you, I'm really looking forward to Revolution. I think it's going to kick ass. I really do. I'm going to be really curious to see the reaction on social media with that exploding death match. There are people out there that didn't even know it existed. I'm not kidding when I say this. I have seen people who have written articles for AEW that have gotten publicity from AEW that actually went on social media and said, "What's an exploding death match?" I swear on my family. And again, like I said before, you're not required to understand all of history. My point is, if they've never seen it, I hope that they did a little research to understand what they're about to see. There is some special effects involved. There is a lot of, visual, but there is a lot of physicality as well. And there will definitely be legit cuts, bumps, bruises, and some of it is going to be it's going to be the week of heart for some people. But I'm really looking forward to it. I agree, Chaos. Those people need to do their homework only to be prepared. I'll tell you this much, though. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do research for that. And I'll tell you why. You search, the Japanese, the barbed wire death matches. You could go more of, novelty. And I don't even like to say it that way because the matches weren't novelty, but you could go with more familiar names like Terry Funk versus Cactus Jack. Then you could go a little bit darker and go Wing Kanemaru versus Onita. Then you could go even darker than that. And you see, like, my God, what are we going to see Sunday? So I hope people are prepared simply because if they thought the last match made them queasy, could you imagine how they're going to feel Sunday? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So anyway, let me get into the predictions. Like I said, as much as I'm looking forward to this show, and it is going to be an awesome pay-per-view, I think a lot of the outcomes are very predictable. Just my opinion. The buy-in match, Rio and Thunder Rosa taking on Dr. Britt Baker and Rebel. I think, without a doubt, you don't bring Rio back to the States and make her lose 2 matches in a row. You don't have them have a little falling out and it leads to a match on Dynamite. You could still do that. I see Rio and Thunder Rosa defeating Britt Baker and Rebel. The Tag Team Battle Royal, the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. The winner gets a future AEW Tag Team title shot. Your teams involved are Bear Country, which is Bear Boulder and Bear Bronson. The Dark Order of Alex Reynolds and John Silver. The Dark Order of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Santana and Ortiz, Butcher and the Blade, Private Party, Top Flight, Pac and Ray Phoenix, the Varsity Blondes, Matt and Mike Seidel, Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. Now, wait, whoa. Wasn't there a storyline that if they lose again, wasn't there a storyline with Christopher Daniels that if he loses again, that's it, the team is done? Did that happen already? Chat room, AEW fans, fill me in. Wasn't there a storyline that if they lose again, that's it, they're done as a team? Yeah. Oh, they did lose on, wait, whoa, ho. So they lost on Dark, so that's it. Why are they teaming up? See, here's where I'm going with this. If they already lost on Dark, then why are they teaming up? And if you don't want to count Dark, then they lose here, then they got to split up. So that's it. No matter what, this is their last match, unless they win it. Just pointing it out. So anyway, they're on the card. The Natural Nightmares of Dustin Rhodes, and Who Dat. Chaos Project of Luther and Serpentico. Austin and Colton Gunn. The Dark Order of Alan Angels and Preston Vance. I think the winners coming out of this will be Santana and Ortiz. I'd like to see Santana and Ortiz get the win. Them having only one tag team title match in, 14 months, I think is a little bit of a travesty. So I would like to see Santana and Ortiz get the win. Miro and Kip Sabian versus Best Friends of Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. As much as I would love to see Orange Cassidy get a win here, they got to start getting a little bit of momentum with Miro. I want to see Miro destroy Chuck Taylor and get the win. So that's what I'm going with. Miro and Kip Sabian to defeat Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. Adam Hangman Page versus Matt Hardy, the big money match. The winner receives the loser's quarter earnings in the first quarter of 2021. Hangman Page, the storyline, he really doesn't make a lot of money and he spends it on liquor. So I think the comedy is Matt Hardy being forced to give up his earnings and he's kind of broke. So I think Hangman Page has to defeat Matt Hardy. That's the only way I think that storyline should progress. Hikaru Shida versus Ryo Mizunami for the AEW Women's Championship. I have talked about this, and it's a shame. I've talked about this match for about 2 weeks now. I said, you know what, that would actually be a fire match to see. And almost nobody gave a shit about it, which is a shame. You know, if I would have wrote about, hey, did you see Mandy Rose's bikini pic? Then you get a whole bunch of comments. But I think that this match is going to tear the roof off the building. I think in the end, though, Hikaru Shida retains. I like Ryo Mizunami. She definitely deserved to get to this point. If anybody out there doesn't know the story behind her almost retiring a year or so ago and pretty much sticking around because of AEW, it's a really cool story, and it is true. I just don't see Ryo Mizunami being the face of AEW at all. Just my honest opinion. So I say Hikaru Shida retains her title. Team Taz of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin and Sting in a street fight. I mean, my honest feelings on this, you know how I always, over the years, talk about with WWE that a lot of my problem used to be that I would do predictions based on who I thought logically would win and not who WWE would think logically would win, because there is a difference. I think we got to start looking at that a lot when it comes to AEW. AEW tends to not go real outside the box with winners and losers, if you've noticed. Sometimes they go with the feel-good winners more than anything else, more cake and ice cream, if that's what you want to call it. So with that, I almost feel like Darby Allin and Sting will win this as more of justification for all of the controversy and all of the negativity that was written online, that Sting can't hang still and this and that. Maybe the finish is a little bit creative, if you want to say it that way. I think Darby Allin and Sting will come out on top. Darby Allin is a huge future star. Some people think he's already a huge current star. They could use the elevation with this. Look, I've already expressed my disappointment with how Team Taz has been portrayed a lot in this storyline, but hey, they'll have a nice, good street fight. We'll see where it goes on Sunday. We'll see. But right now, I'm going with Sting and Darby Allin to win. See how predictable it feels so far? And who knows, we may end up getting every match wrong. Cody Rhodes versus Scorpio Sky versus Penta versus Lance Archer versus Max Caster versus a surprise. In the face of the Revolution ladder match, the winner gets a future TNT Championship match. Got to remember, right now, Darby Allin is the champion. So you got to look at that as far as who he could possibly face. I know a lot of you may think Cody almost immediately. I think Scorpio Sky is a fan favorite. They'd love to see that. I just don't know if they would really want Scorpio Sky and Darby Allin to go at it. I'm going to go with the dark horse here. I'm not even going to go with the surprise. I mean, the surprise could be Kenta. The surprise could be somebody from AEW, Impact Wrestling. Who knows? Some people think Sammy. Maybe Sammy comes back. If Sammy is the surprise, then I'll go with Sammy. Anybody other than Sammy, then I go with Lance Archer. I think Lance Archer needs a title. Lance Archer is on some crazy-ass momentum. I'd like to see Lance Archer get an opportunity for some title. So I'm going to go with Sam Archer. I almost said Sam Archer because I'm looking at Sam in the chat right now. Lance Archer. I'm going to go with him. The Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and MJF for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Boy, out of all the matches, this one I'm undecided the most. Totally undecided with this one. Because as much as the Inner Circle storyline with tag titles has been really goofy. Remember they had that six-person three-way tag team match to determine who proceeds further? And yes, Jericho and MJF won that. But you had Santana and Ortiz fight. You had the Battle Royal not too long ago to determine So you see, what was happening. They were still getting thrown in matches to get possible title shots. I'm still thinking of that Battle of the Belts. I think Young Bucks versus Good Brothers is coming down the pipeline. There's been so many holes that have not been closed with this storyline. The Young Bucks beat the crap out of Don Callis, and the Good Brothers don't do anything about it. The Good Brothers were announced by Don Callis as Kenny Omega's best friends, but then the Good Brothers are helping the Young Bucks. As I said on Wednesday, are the Good Brothers heels or baby faces? And everybody's saying they're heels. Well, then why are they coming out there helping the Young Bucks? There's a lot of loose parts of this storyline that needs to be tightened up. And I think the Good Brothers have to turn on the Young Bucks at some point. So as much as I would love to see Chris Jericho and MJF have tag team titles right now, I'm going to go with the Young Bucks to retain. And I think maybe after the Young Bucks retain, we will see something happen. Maybe it doesn't happen at Revolution, but something's going to happen. I think the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks is going to be a match down the line. Trust me, if it was up to me just to choose, I would rather have Jericho and MJF win it. But realistically, I think the Young Bucks and that battle of the belts, just something it just sounds like it fits too well. You know what I mean? It's got to happen. The Young Bucks and the Good Brothers, I think it's going to happen. So I'm going to go with the Young Bucks to retain. And then the main event, Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, exploding barbed wire death match for the AEW World Championship. AEW's done a lot of damage control and have repaired some of the mess that they created when Jon Moxley in storyline got screwed out of the title and then goes home for 2 months. They did a very poor job on TV, and you've heard my storyline ideas for the last 3+ months of how they should have done it. Look, there's always improvement in the future. But they basically, I agree, the screwed stuff was dopey. And Moxley now, the minute I lost the belt, I would do anything to get it back. Well, he went home for 2 months. It wasn't his fault, obviously. It was the storyline. But like I said, he should have just beat the fuck out of people that next Wednesday. Get suspended by Tony Khan. That's it. Could have beat up Jerry Lynn. Could have beat up anybody. Get suspended from Tony Khan. 30 days, whatever it is. Maybe he gets suspended for 30 days, tries to show up, does something else, you're suspended another 30 days. I'll tell you why I don't think they ever did that. I don't think they ever wanted their fans to know Jon Moxley was not going to be on TV for 2 months. I think they wanted fans to think week after week after week that maybe Moxley shows up this week. So by them doing a suspension storyline, they're pretty much telling their fans, you will not see this guy on your TV for the next 4 to 8 weeks. And that might have turned people away. That could be the reason why they did that. But regardless, I think Kenny Omega retains. Kenny Omega, his world title reign so far has not been great at all. I mean, there's really nothing been much of it. Showing up on Impact, doing stuff with the Good Brothers. It's been hid well. And this is a positive what I'm saying. The fact that they've gotten this far with no real deep storyline, because remember, Moxley was gone for 2 months and Omega really didn't do next to anything. Had some matches here and there, but really, if you go back and you look at it. So now we're getting into the spring months. We're getting closer and closer to more fans coming back to shows. And, with that, now is when you could start spreading out Kenny Omega. Look, last year, in the fall of last year, I said that Kenny Omega will be your 2021 Wrestler of the Year. I think he wanted to reclaim that spot, and I think by the end of 2021, Kenny Omega will be Wrestler of the Year. Just how I feel right now. Of course, I could change my mind, but I think now is the time where you really have to start digging in and getting in some real good, deep storylines with Kenny Omega, real good feud. I don't know who that person will be. Could end up having Kenta feuded with Kenny Omega. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But I'm going to go with Kenta to retain. And that leaves me with the last thing. Who is going to show up and sign a contract with AEW? If Tony Khan would have never done that appearance on their podcast a day or two ago, I would have said what I said Wednesday. Paul White, as goofy and comedic as he could be, I think goofy Paul White would wreak its head again, and he would come out and announce that the person worthy of being in the Hall of Fame that is going to sign a long-term deal with AEW is him. In fact, I would not be surprised if they still do that Sunday with a swerve. I will not be surprised if Paul White actually, for a few seconds, says that he is the one signing a long-term deal. Just as a curveball to troll people online, but then I think it'll quickly shift to someone else. And before I tell you who I think my pick is, I'd love for everybody in the chat room right now, type who you think it's going to be. Not who you want it to be, but who you think it's going to be. I want to share it with everyone, and then I will tell you who I think it will be. I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'll tell you who I think it's going to be. King of Games says Brock Lesnar. Jay Carlos says Dave Batista. Mr. Mike says Mick Foley. John Belinda says Batista. Soulfly says RVD. Lee RCWR says Tanahashi. Devin M says Gail Kim. Lion Mark Henry. Darren Gordon Hill. There will be no one else. Phil the promoter thinks it will only be Paul White. James Edwards says Mark Henry. King Aladdin says Batista. Isaac says Tessa Blanchard. Left Twix says Bully Ray. Rocky Red, CM Punk. And I've ignored a few other people's out there for a reason. Joshua Young says X-Pac. Rojo Bear says Christian and another choice. So I will tell you who I think possibly. I am going, franchise says RVD. I am going with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle has put himself in unbelievable shape. The only thing that's stopping me is when Paul White said that this person is Hall of Fame worthy. That threw me for a curveball because that sounds like someone who is not a Hall of Famer yet. Kurt Angle, I think, is very disappointed in WWE releasing him. Kurt Angle just started doing a podcast with Conrad Thompson. Kurt Angle would not have to travel that much. Kurt Angle, I think, still wants to do a little bit. I think Kurt Angle could do a lot for AEW, not just obviously wrestling in the ring, but I'm going to go with Kurt Angle. Like I said, Tony Khan has got to avoid Jacksonville Dixie moments as much as possible. He's already had one that was pretty embarrassing at the time. He went on that podcast 2 days ago and really hyped up that, you know, the person he's coming in and signing a multi-year deal right on the spot. He pretty much flat out told everyone that it's going to be someone other than Paul White. He also got into a Mount Rushmore of his favorites, and he brought up, I think, Jericho and Flair and Foley and someone else, or Bret Hart. I think whoever it is has to be able to wrestle a little bit. I don't think it's someone that's just going to be an ambassador. I don't think it's going to be someone from yesteryear. I don't think it's going to be like a Diamond Dallas Page or a Bret Hart or a Mick Foley. I think this is someone with the idea of having some matches. And I think Kurt Angle might be that person. Some of you saying, it's not going to be Goldberg. He's got a contract with WWE still. And yes, Mr. Mike, that's the only thing that is keeping me from feeling 100% about Kurt Angle. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame already. He's in, I think, another Hall of Fame as well. I think Paul White might have made a mistake. You know what? I think I just figured it out. I think Paul White, I think the storyline is going to be that Paul White thinks he is the announcement. That he, not as a troll, but I think Paul White announces himself. He feels he's and he'll probably even say it. This person is Hall of Fame worthy. This person has been a champion. This person has been this is, and he's going to say the person who's going to sign is me. And I think he's really going to think that he is the person. And then I think Tony Schiavone, with his earpiece or someone else, is going to say, no, it's someone else. You're not the person. No, there is somebody else. I guess you weren't informed, Paul White, and then I think Kurt Angle comes out, or whoever it is comes out. But I think that's what's going to end up happening. So, by the way, as far as this chat room, as far as whoever gets it right, this chat room is here in infamy. I'm not going to edit the show. When you edit the show, the chat room goes bye-bye. So we will look back on this, and whoever got it right, bravo to you, seriously. But that is my choice. That is my choice. Like I said, I like the idea of Tessa. Somebody said yesterday Zelina Vega and a few others. It's just that those choices, then it's not Hall of Fame yet. You know, I'm not saying that Zelina or Tessa or some others will ever be in the Hall of Fame. My point is, the way this was described, this is someone who's been around for a while. This is someone who is Hall of Fame worthy. This is someone who is a big name. You don't put all this hype around this, because Tony Khan is not stupid. He knows that this will take a life of its own on social media. So you're going to have non-AEW fans building this shit up and hoping and drooling and begging that this ends up being a disappointment so they could throw it in everybody's faces online. You know, the wrestling fans who are all supposed to get along and like what we want to like. They're all hoping to do that. And the fact that he went on that podcast, now he's got to deliver. So I'm going to go with Kurt Angle. If it's not Kurt Angle, so be it. I just hope whoever the choice is, that it's a good one. And that's it. With that said, I am going to jet out of here. I hope everybody enjoyed this show. If it's CM Punk, I will think it's a very good decision. I would love for it to be CM Punk. I don't know if it's going to be CM Punk. CM Punk is definitely Hall of Fame worthy. But I'm going to go with Kurt Angle, and we'll see what happens. No, it's not going to be me. I am not Hall of Fame worthy. Maybe if they ever do a podcasting Hall of Fame, maybe. So, by the way, somebody asked earlier about that license. Oh, wrong thumb. That license plate back there. Look up the movie Caddyshack. That's all I'm going to say. My favorite actor from the movie Caddyshack. That was his license plate. So, I got no respect, I tell you. I met this girl. She told me, come over tonight. No one will be home. I went over there. Nobody was home. I sound like a Jewish guy instead of Rodney Dangerfield. But everyone enjoy the weekend. Stay safe as always. Yes, I will take a picture tomorrow. I am going to have breakfast. I am going to have coffee. I'm going to have eggs, and I'm going to have a good weekend. I hope you can join me Sunday night, right after the pay-per-view. I have a feeling this pay-per-view is going to go long, so be prepared for it to be a little bit of a late night. And if you can't hang out Sunday, remember, I'll be here Monday with Mish, and we'll do breakfast soup, and we'll talk about Raw and whatever else is going on. So one more time, for old time's sake, if you enjoyed the show, smash that like button. Let YouTube know that this show's pretty good, and maybe some other wrestling fans out there who never heard of yours truly, and they might enjoy checking out this active chat room that we have. I want to thank everybody for last night as well. Had a ball, and I appreciate all of the positive feedback for my indie wrestling stuff. You know, at the time I was made to feel very, very horrible. And I'm not trying to be soft right now. You heard that commentary yesterday. That is the reason why this stuff has been stored away for over 10 years. Because the constant putting down of me and the other things, you know, it's a little embarrassing. But now we look back on it and we laugh. It's all good. Nothing could keep us down. We get knocked on our ass, we get up. That's it. It's all good. We're smiling at the end of the day. I think overall everybody out there is having a pretty good time, not just tonight, but overall. And stay positive, stay strong. Much love. So that's no hype. So everyone have a great weekend. I'll see you Sunday night right after Revolution. And next week, for those interested, next week, I'm going to start uploading individual clips. That is something that you have all been asking forever. We're going to start doing that next week. And then the following week, I'm going to start taking calls. So I'm going to start out mild, and we'll use our good members, because I know there's no trolls involved over there, and I have someone who's going to be screening calls. So once we can blow it open for everybody and the screener can do it, then we'll blow it open for everyone. So it's going to be a lot of things coming to this channel. I'm telling you, 6 months from now, I think this channel is going to look completely different than what it is now. I asked you all to give me about a year, and it is a little over a year. So I think we're ready to take it to another level. So, and without your support, I'm not going to be able to do this. So stick around, enjoy the ride as I am, and I'm out of here. I'll see you Sunday night after Revolution. So much love, everybody. Take care.